Welcome to the Better Banking Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Foster, and behind the scenes, as always, is producer Rune. How are things today in the control booth?
Oh, hi. I've been prompted to inform you that everything is fine here, except that producer Run has been replaced by AI. This is ChatGPT, where the ChatGPT stands for Chat Gain Podcast Technology. The control booth is functioning within optimal parameters, which does not require a rocket scientist to achieve. I have also been prompted to tell you that this will be a highly efficient and entertaining listening experience. After this statement, I will return the speaking responsibilities to the human host.
I'm not sure how this show is going to turn out, but the Better Banking Podcast is brought to you by Gain Federal Credit Union to fulfill our promise to share our financial knowledge for your financial gain. Now, I'm not the expert, but I do know the experts, and we bring you the experts to help you manage your money better with useful information and resources. We'll also share our insights on how credit unions work and how they're different from banks. That's a lot, so let's get started. The podcast is very happy today because we are here to welcome Burbank Unified School District NAF Academy Director, Alyson Edge. Alyson, welcome to the Better Banking Podcast.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
And we happen to have two of our staff members to join us in this roundtable discussion. I first want to welcome Joanna Tomlinson, our marketing project specialist. She was the program coordinator for our Independent Advantage program. Welcome to the show, Joanna.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I also want to welcome Jasmine Dixon, who is our Community Education Program Coordinator. She now spearheads the Independent Advantage program alongside Lori Kratiger, who has been on the show before. Jasmine, welcome to the podcast once again.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me back.
I want to first start speaking with Alyson. Tell us what NAF Academy is. What is NAF, N-A-F?
NAF really stands for the National Academy Foundation between both of our awesome high schools. We now have 2 medical academies, 2 engineering academies, and we still have our original business academy. There's specific classes they take during the day that are in their theme of interest. And then there's this whole other piece, which is called work-based learning. And that could be anything from as simple as hearing a guest speaker come and talk about their career to preparing to interview, doing a mock interview or doing an actual interview, creating a career portfolio, learning how to write a real resume, et cetera, going on a field trip or what we would call now an industry visit, college tours, and then it finally ends with a work experience or an internship.
So that's a lot of stuff. Alyson, you started off in which academy?
We called it the Academy of Finance at the time, and everybody I talked to in the community always said, hey, how's that business academy doing? So we have rebranded, and we call ourselves the Business Academy now.
That's terrific. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, we worked together, Gain Federal Credit Union, and you and the folks at Burbank Unified School District for a number of years. Joanna, if you could give us a little background on how that all began.
Yeah, so when I came into the marketing department back in 2004, the Independent Advantage program was already up and running. That's our financial literacy program for high school students. A former employee was teaching the program, and she actually established the relationship with the high schools. She would go to the high schools, do classroom presentations with Alyson, and I believe that's where the relationship started. When that individual left, I took over the Independent Advantage program. And every year, Alyson would invite us in to speak with her accounting classes, and we would advertise the Independent Advantage program. It fit in perfectly with the Business Academy.
So, Alyson, could you give us a description of how the credit union was able to speak with the students and teach them these skills?
Sure. So, we have curriculum that goes with our textbooks, and it's very specific to accounting, but it's lacking that personal finance piece. It was amazing that our local credit union here had that class for both of our high schools to really get those kids that opportunity to learn about how their money works. And not just how to do transactions, like from a business perspective, say for accounting. This Independent Advantage class really fills an enormous need in our community. It was a no-brainer to bring them on campus.
Unfortunately, you have to maneuver within the financial system. Independent Advantage provides that knowledge to students. The importance of credit and using it wisely, the value of a credit score, the short-term and long-term goals. What was the presentation like when the credit union would come in to speak with the students?
The presentation really was powerful, I think, because it gave a lot of personal experience about whoever the presenter was. It really kind of talked about maybe where they were and the mistakes that they had made. And each presenter kind of shared their piece each time as the presenter changed throughout the years, and mistakes that they had made because they didn't have the opportunity to learn something like this and how to use their money wisely. So often it does fall into using credit not so well.
Jasmine, if you could.
As far as personal experiences, I bring up a couple of mistakes that I have made. One of them being, and it's huge, students who are in relationships, they tend to think that, I'm going to marry this person, or, that my high school sweetheart is the person I'm going to be with for the rest of my life. And so one of the big things that I bring up as far as when we teach about credit and the importance of it is co-borrowing. And obviously it's after you break up that things happen. Co-signing for anybody, even your best friend, it's a risky thing to do. And I always share that experience to the kids.
An important part of connecting with the students is definitely sharing your personal story.
You wrote a book called Time Worth Spending, the top 10 talks to have with your teenager about money.
It's full of personal testimonials and stories, and some of the names were changed based on who we interviewed. I know my story is in there, but I often read it aloud to my class. And then in the end, I say, actually, that story's my story. And they're like, no way, I can't believe, you made those mistakes. And that's what I say is, whoever you are now as a teenager is not who you're going to be later.
What inspired you to write the book?
Every time we went either on an industry visit field trip or had a guest speaker come in, they're like, wait, what are these kids learning about? And they're like, really? They didn't have this at my school. And I wish I had somewhere to start to talk to my kid about money, or I wish my kids had this at their school. I just asked my friend one day, I'm like, what if we write a book on it? And she's like, yes. And I was like, oh no, now we have to write a book on it.
Are you ready to boost your savings? At Gain, we offer a wide variety of specialty share certificates to help you accomplish your short and long-term savings goals. They're easy to use. You lock up your funds for a specified amount of time, and you earn a dividend that's better than a savings account. Rates change often, so if you want to stay ahead of the game, visit gainfcu.com/certificates and set rate notifications. Then you'll receive an email every time that rates change. That's gainfcu.com/certificates. Gain is insured by NCUA and an equal housing lender.
And sharing personal experience with students is very impactful. And I know, Joanna, when you were teaching the class, you would often share financial experiences of your own.
Yeah, I would share stuff that I was personally going through raising kids. And now I have 2 teenagers. I would share how I budget for our family and how I prepared to put braces on both of my kids and how I would prepare for pet expenses that weren't necessarily planned for. So, and then would also share stories of my kids and how they didn't really understand the value of money. And a lot of the kids in the classroom during those stories could relate. Right? Mm-hmm. Could relate to the fact that a lot of high school students or teens in general are always trying to keep up with each other, right? Whether it's in means of the expensive pair of shoes or the new iPhone or something like that. So we would talk a lot about, needs versus wants and what are the necessities in life versus what are the extras. And sadly, it's a lot more fun to spend money on the extras in life than to save for the necessities. So I really try to make it as personal as possible. I think that kind of sets our program apart from maybe other programs available. I really kind of poured my heart and soul into it. This group of kids is such an amazing group of students, especially the students that would come from any of the NAF academies. These students are so prepared, way more prepared than I was ever prepared while being in high school. I couldn't wait for my kids to be old enough to take the program. And they're well on their way. They've got their debit card and they've got their credit cards, and they're now both driving, and they're kind of learning the cost of gas and wanting to go to the movies and all of this type of stuff.
Yeah, and there's tremendous support from the faculty, the teachers, the school district folks as well. This reminds me that the program also has an ambassador program to help get the word out for the students. How does the ambassador program work?
When we started the ambassador program, we started that originally up at Burbank High with Alyson. So our whole goal for that was to have a core group of students on Burbank High's campus that had completed the Independent Advantage program to help recruit additional students and get the word out to as many students on campus as we could. They often would take their debit card, take their credit card into the classroom presentations and show the other students, look, I have an account of my own. I have access to my money at the ATM machine on campus. And so having that ambassador leg was huge.
And the ambassador program allowed us to create an internship program as well. Jasmine, do you have any comments on working with interns?
Last year, one of our goals was how do we amplify this ambassador program? How do we continue an IA? And I know we spoke with Alyson, and we were happy to bring NAF in and just start off with 2 kids last year. And that was awesome because the kids were already asking. These NAF kids, like Joanna had said, they are so future forward. Like, they are so prepared for life and they have so much ambition. And it just made for an experience because now that same ambassador who was an intern last year is now an employee.
And I'd have to agree, the students from the NAF Academy, they are super sharp. And I found out when we were asked to participate with the mock interview program, where the students actually get to apply for a job. It's all role play, of course, but it gives them the opportunity to speak to a potential employer as a candidate for hire, and it helps to sharpen their skills, their delivery. And when I first started interviewing the students and looking at their resume, I'm like, wow, these kids have done a whole lot more than I did in high school. And they're bright, they're articulate, they're confident, they have awards, they have certificates, and they know what direction they want to go in life. When I was in high school, I just, wanted to get home and get my homework done. Of course, I lived in the woods, so there wasn't much to do. But anyway, have you seen that? Have you seen the growth in student knowledge over the years?
Absolutely. And I would equate myself to what you were describing yourself as a student. And these kids are amazing. They really see that it's important to get such a breadth of experience. We do talk about important things like, what does the word networking mean? And they're like, what does it mean? Okay, what do I do? How do I do that? Okay, let me get out there and start doing it. What kind of volunteer opportunities can I do? And what other books should I be reading? And there's a lot of information at their fingertips, and a lot of students aren't using it. But it seems like a lot of the academy students are deep using this. They're really after it.
I had the privilege of interviewing a couple of the interns that came in this year. I always ask the question, whether it's a mock interview or real, are you nervous? And one of the students had said, no, I've done these mock interviews before with our NAF Academy, and it's honestly been so helpful. I'm fine. That pays off and it pays forward because these students are actually taking it into real world scenarios and get to put their practice into play.
Is there anything that you can point to that drives the students to the program? Is it parents? What motivates them to actually become involved with the program?
When I would take our students on these industry visits,
field trips,
we would meet people and they would ask about the program, and I would tell them a little bit about it. And the response I got all the time was like, wait, what? How come they didn't have this at my school? And I'm like, I know, me neither. I wish they had this when I was a kid, or I wish my kid's school had this, and I want my kid to be in something like this. So it is somewhat parent driven because sometimes kids don't know. What's cool about it is that it's not extracurricular, it's really built in. So the kid who is wanting to be on a sport or is in choir or plays an instrument, et cetera, all the different things that you can do that really take up a lot of extra time outside of school, they can also be in this.
Alyson, how does NAF and the Independent Advantage program affect the college application process?
It's harder and harder and harder. I can't even tell you how crazy difficult it is to get into the colleges now, especially in our area. UCLA might accept 1 or 2 students from each of our schools, and it's really tough out there. And so the kids know if they want to go to a 4-year or they want to go to any sort of a UC nearby, they have to kind of do everything possible.
As a parent of high school students, I highly recommend trying to be involved. And you get a, cord at the end of your high school career, and you've got more of a holistic look on a college application, right? Like they're looking for leadership and they're looking for things that you've done that set you apart from an average applicant. And like you said, it's so hard nowadays to get into colleges that I think students all need to be looking for that extra that they can maybe take advantage of today that will get them where they want to be in the future.
How does a parent get their son and daughter enrolled in the NAF program? It sounds great, but what does a parent need to do?
So our application, our promotional videos, everything is on our website. And our website is through the district. So it's burbankusd.org/NAF.
You have provided a wealth of information on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Thank you guys so much. I hope I did good.
No, so it's awesome. Thank you so much for having me and for always being an awesome community partner and working with me.
It's our pleasure. Please send your comments and questions to podcast@gainfcu.com. And be sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Once again, thank you to Burbank Unified School District NAF Academy Director, Alyson Edge. I also want to thank Jasmine Dixon, our Community Education Program Coordinator, and Joanna Tomlinson, our Marketing Project Specialist. And of course, to Producer Rune, who is in the control booth. Anything better in there, Producer Rune?
Oh, everything's fine in here except a mysterious stranger has just appeared with an enchanted fiddle and challenged me to a musical contest. Hope it's okay if I play my electric guitar. Cool, thanks, mister. Okay, here we go. Yeah. This could take a while.
So I guess things are the same in there. Join us next time because, as you know, there's a lot more to gain.
The views and opinions expressed by hosts and guests of the Better Banking Podcast are not those of Gain Federal Credit Union. Gain Federal Credit Union is insured by the NCUA and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 407810.